What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Valynt Volumes. I'm your host and CEO, Dan Spottsville.
And I'm Makayla Mitchell.
If you are a first-time listener, in this volume, we talk about business, entrepreneurship, but most importantly, how to kick ass in life.
And today, we have Jagger Lucé back with us. How are you?
I am doing well. Doing well.
That's how I feel the team has been chanting you when you're not in the room, and we're talking about sales lately.
I'd agree.
So Dan and I have been talking a lot about, we're just going to jump right into it. Dan and I have been talking a lot about the Luna launch. I want to get your perspective on that. And Dan, I also want to hear from you too, a little bit in the beginning about the new sales team that we're building. So who wants to start there?
I guess I'll take it real quick. Look,
Okay.
shout out to Logan that's here today. I think 2 weeks ago we had Nathan, he's an ad builder, but we have Logan who's joined our team. So welcome to the team.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We have Logan here, but just going into the Luna launch, I think it's going as I expected.
Really well.
Yeah, I think so. We have people that signed up. Jagger's done a great job. Selling it to people that he's talked to previously in the last, 2 years. And then we just started running some ads. And so we're now getting leads opting in outside of the capital raise. But Jagger, how do you feel? How's it been for you?
It's been busy as all get out, which is a good thing, right? Good, busy being a salesperson. But yeah, we initially kind of reached out to the initial tranche of people that we had talked to over the past 2 years. Yeah. As you know, basically we sent out outreach to right at 1,500 people, and my meeting or my calendar was booked for basically 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks just through. Just anywhere from 5 to 10 demos of the software a day. And that was before we did any type of paid advertising, which is obviously our forte. So that was exciting. Great, massive take rate there. Honestly, it was although it was kind of a quote unquote overwhelming response, it was kind of what we expected, honestly. We felt like the market fit was there. So very excited to definitely get through this initial 4 weeks of bookings and close out those groups as we have been, and then move to running paid ads.
Are you still talking to people from the initial email that we sent out 3-4 weeks ago?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's cool.
In a sense of they're just now getting around to getting back to you, or they've been in constant communication, or they've just been able to get on your calendar?
Both. So there's been the people that just haven't responded, and now they are. Yeah. There's been the people that booked with me, and then we talked, and now basically the sales cycle is kind of coming to a close. They've been able to kind of discuss internally. And then there's the people that I've just been consistently transacting emails and text messages about, for people that don't really want to get onto a call initially.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, man. I don't think we've had a chance to talk, but what are most people finding attractive about Luna, the software?
So pretty much anyone that utilizes LinkedIn, email, or text to initiate or complete pretty much any objective, whether it be selling a service, selling a product, connecting to a subset of individuals like investors, whoever it may be, they're attracted to the time efficiency of it. Yes, the time efficiency, first of all, and then secondly, the AI integration as well. At an absolute floor minimum, it is a time efficiency tool. If you're spending any time on a weekly basis on LinkedIn or email prospecting, it should be a no-brainer. And then secondly, the AI integration is very attractive, very kind of quote-unquote sexy, right?
Yeah.
And so pretty much everyone takes to that of wow, if I can send out 100 personalized messages every single day, it doesn't take too much personalization in those messages to get an increase in engagement, increase in response rates, etc. So I would say, time efficiency to save time, save money ultimately, and then the AI integration is huge.
That's cool.
Since you were going back initially to some of the people that were in your pipeline, what was their response whenever you reached back out to them? Because originally it would have been maybe they couldn't afford the full service, or for whatever reason it wasn't the right time. What was that like?
So there was a subset of groups that were kind of anticipating it, right? So they were excited. They were finally, it's launched, we're ready to go, let's get on a demo, let's see it. And yes, for the groups that basically can't afford our full service digital marketing, they were very excited to be able to see us offering something that provides value to them at a fraction of the cost of our full service digital marketing. And then further than that, the groups, even our current clients, I mean, anybody that is in kind of the industry that we've been operating in, they've been attracted to it. Even if they aren't necessarily looking to connect to investors, they can utilize it to do that. But overall, the response was that they were excited for many different reasons, mainly monetarily, to be honest. But also there's just the groups that money wasn't a factor and we weren't a correct fit. And now Luna applies to them, which is exciting. So
That's legit.
Yeah, because like I just recently opened up the paid advertising to like all different verticals. So like now we're seeing like there wasn't a company that came in yesterday that creates parts for like manufacturing and distribution or something. I can't even remember what they're called. I mean, there's just like different companies coming in. Like I don't even know what these companies do.
When you,
I'm just seeing them come in from our paid advertising. Like, hey, do you want to do automated outreach? You know, like through LinkedIn or email and text, and they're interested.
Yeah. When well, I even heard Nathan talking about how one of the accounts that he's working on, it had to do with like mental health and like I think they were trying to connect with like different doctors in the medical field. You know, so it's definitely diverse industries. But talk to me about whenever you built the new ads for Luna. Like, what were the results that you saw? Was it pretty instant?
Yeah, and by the way, I scaled it down because I'm trying to make some changes to it. I'm adding recruiters to it.
Perfect.
Like in the next like day or two or whatever. Yes. And I was like looking at all the data, so like I paused most of the campaigns.
Okay.
But I did launch it. I think it was Tuesday when Logan started. And I think we got like 10 within like 24 hours, like Luna leads. So, and then plus I paused it too because I know you're going to be out of town and stuff. So I figured like, why waste the money right now?
Yep.
You know, but it works though. I mean, paid advertising works for everything.
Yeah.
You know? It works for everything. What does it not work for?
Yeah. And didn't I hear you say, Jagger, that like not only have you been able to flip the people who opt in for Valynt Digital, like if they can't afford it, they can talk about Luna. Didn't you have like a Luna lead that was like, wait, I want to know more about everything you do?
They were like, look, like we see the value in kind of this engine Luna that you're presenting, but you're alluding to this more powerful engine, which is your full service digital marketing. Like, what is that? And I start talking to him about it and he's like, awesome. Like, just stop talking. We're going to book another hour-long meeting and we're going to run through that because he was like, I want the best that you have to bring to the table.
So it's a gateway for some of these other conversations.
It is. It's kind of... what's the correct term? Symbiotic, I guess. Like basically, there's a lot of the streams cross between those two subsets of people very often.
It intertwines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting?
What?
Never know what's gonna come next.
Look, I'm excited about this, and I shared this with Bianca. You and I shared this with Bianca.
Okay.
But I had Bianca test out the AI caller software. And I know we've been talking about it internally, but like I'm super excited because like it does outbound and inbound. You know, we have the email and text. The last missing key was this conversation AI, and I want to name her Camilla.
Camilla?
Why do you want to name her Camilla, Dan?
I don't know. Like, it's just a name that I like.
Okay.
Camilla. And then the guy, I don't know. Maybe we name him Enzo.
Enzo? Where'd you get that name from? Let's do it.
All right. So let's
the baby salesman.
So do you have okay, do you want to talk more about that AI software before we kind of...
Yeah, I'll just give you quick highlights because we're not launching it. We're launching it internally this month, and then probably for like outside of our own organization, probably like May. But what it does is you cannot tell the difference that it's not a human being. It's very conversational. But the goal is for it to schedule calls and do live transfers for lead generation. So it does outbound, so you can put a list of like 100,000 people that qualify for your service or product, and it can make 1,800 calls per minute.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous.
Which is just so crazy.
Yeah. I was definitely very impressed with the way it really did sound.
Because you tested it, right? Like, and you made up your own scenario.
Yeah, I overheard you do one that definitely sounded a lot more robotic, and then the one that I made up the scenario. But I literally said like I'm a digital marketing agency and I'm a matchmaker for luxury like matchmaking, and I even gave the prompt of like, well, I cut him off and I said, my concern is that my clients don't want AI robots in their love life. And rather than just like repeating back what I said, the AI was able to interpret that and say like, hey, totally understand privacy is a really big issue, especially with their like high-end clients looking for matchmaking. I was like, whoa, like that's impressive.
So like it listens, and even like I was listening to Bianca test it out today. She was like, hey, can I schedule a call for like next Wednesday? And this AI was like, I think it was Brian was his name.
Yeah.
He was like, no, we're taking it. We're actually busy on that day. There's no openings. What about Tuesday at 9 a.m.? So like it even looks at your calendar and it's synced with your calendar, so I can schedule time for you. So it's definitely a game changer for lead generation, appointment setting. So if you're in an appointment setting, you may want to reconsider like what you're doing. Like I'm being like super serious here.
It's true.
Like
Same
because
with like call centers. Like
it makes 1,800 calls a minute, and it can live transfer. And if you're an appointment setter, just setting appointments, and your conversation is naturally like less than 3 minutes. I mean, this thing is going to replace you. It's no different than fast food workers, right? But that simultaneously creates new opportunities. So I'm not knocking people that do appointment settings. I'm just saying, like, it's just the reality in which we live now.
Yeah.
So with all of these new like AI softwares and features that Valynt is offering, like through Luna or through Valynt, like how are you making it the most user friendly for like our clients?
That's a great question. We white glove it, meaning like we build it all out for them. So like our clients are just being able to experience the results versus having to like figure out how to set it up and how do I integrate it with my day-to-day and my business and my SOP, like how do I execute on it. We take care of that for them. So that's how we're making it easy for our partners and oncoming new clients to be able to utilize AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you started to see any pushback from Luna or from like AI maybe?
Not really. No. No, not really. I mean,
That's
of course, there's the people that have any new thing, any new kind of service or anything like new tech. There's going to be people that love it, and there's going to be people that hate it. The cool thing about Luna is that like if you don't want to utilize the AI integration, fine. Like that's perfectly fine. It's still a very valuable tool. And so it's interesting.
Yeah, can you imagine people saying like, yeah, I'm not going to watch TV, or like, no, I'm not going to use social media. Like, shut
that up.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with AI, I think. Like, whether you know it or not, you're probably already getting phone calls from like AI.
Yeah.
You probably booked something for an insurance company using AI, Brian. You didn't even realize it. So like, it's already part of life,
Yeah.
I mean, look, we use AI internally pretty heavily, for the things that we do. And we use it as an efficiency tool. Did I say that right?
Efficiency.
That's like the key thing. I feel like where people are really starting to get upset with kind of AI is the fact that it can take away from like the creatives, like the people that basically like that used to could only be sourced from that individual's brain and from their expertise basically, but now you can pull it from AI. But I feel like at Valynt, like all of that is still absolutely accentuated with like our back-end team of creatives, like that still is extracted from them. But AI is kind of we utilize it to fill in kind of the tedious, repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like kind of like basically like with Luna, you would have to go for each email you send out, you would go to their LinkedIn, scrape their LinkedIn and pull data and then personalize the message. And yes, there is some creative factor into how you would craft that, but it's really more of just a tedious, repetitive task. Like it's going to be pretty the same over and over and over. And so I feel like those things from an unbiased sense, it's like, even if you hate AI, like you can't deny the fact that that's better. Like it's not taking away from anyone. It's not removing creative ability. It's just making things more efficient. Like you said,
for sure.
But,
I do want to say one more thing. Like we are like, I think we were saying this the other day, like we have a Jarvis. If you watch Iron Man, like Jarvis.
Yes.
So like we have this thing that we're trying to utilize within our agency to where we dump all of your sales calls, sales scripts, emails, conversation, all the stuff that you've created, operation-wise, sales-wise, and everything that I've created and everything that every other team member has created, and we're dumping it into this AI platform. And what it becomes is like your Jarvis. Like you can ask it questions, and it'll say if somebody's like has a question about like the vacation policy, they can be like, hey, what's Valynt's vacation policy? Spits it back to you right in front of the inside the platform. If you get an email saying like I don't know, from a potential client that you're talking to, and they say, well, what about this reggae offering? You know, do you have any case studies or similarities of something that you've done in the past? You can highlight that email conversation coming in, and then have this platform create a response for you based on other responses you've created to this type of similar email that you're getting for sales.
Right.
So like you don't have to retype everything.
Yeah.
You know. Or if somebody says, hey, I want to learn more about Reg D offerings, like a team member types into this platform, it'll pull documentations, or it'll give you a link to a site to go to. And the crazy thing is you can pull information from your competitor's website and put it into this platform and make it that much smarter. Right. Which is, I don't know, is that cheating? Is that like cheating on a test? Like,
I think it's just using the tools in the toolkit.
Right. Because what's the difference between me reading the website versus just having the answer that I want from that website within my platform?
Yeah.
Tedious, repetitive tasks.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
Yeah.
I guess it's not.
It's true.
It's just like if you were to have an assistant saying, hey, can you go find me this? Can you get me that? What's this?
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Or like how many new Luna clients did we sign up in the last 7 days? It'll tie to Notion, our back end software, for like making sure things are on point. It'll pull that information and just give it to you, so you don't have to go there.
Right.
Yeah. It just makes things faster. Yeah.
It's
exciting.
I know.
So kind of switching gears a little bit, Jagger, while you're here, I had a couple of topics I thought of bringing up, just talking about like your deal closing process, or like from the initial negotiations to like final agreements. Like there's been so much that has evolved at Valynt, especially like since you started, and your own growth, how we've evolved. But like, what are some things that you've learned, I guess, maybe over the last couple months, of just like best practices for the initial conversation when people maybe are on the fence, or maybe some barriers to entry kind of?
I would say that it really is all in kind of like what I've learned is like the approach to it. So basically it's like we've talked about, like you're very educational rather than selling them, right? Which is kind of a cliche saying. But these guys, especially the individuals we're talking to, they respect that so much more. Like when they get on the phone with me, they know I'm a salesman. They know that I'm about to sit there and try and plow through objections and get them to close on that call, right? Yeah. So we sit down and we like look each other in the eyes and we're like, we know, like I know what you want from me, you know what to expect from me. And so it's like, how are we going to go about this? And if you just kind of break through that whole paradigm and basically you're just like, hey, like this is what we have to offer. We think it's awesome. We know that it has a proven track record. Here's the track record. Like, do you want to engage us or not? It's kind of that approach of just like very matter of fact. Of course, there are subliminal tactics as to how you can basically maneuver and get the objective completed, being the salesperson. Yeah. Which are fun. That's what makes it fun, is being able to maneuver and get creative with how you do that. Yeah. But it really is kind of the approach. I mean, kind of that, I would say, more educational versus like trying to really sales them and add 15 exclamation points and like just like kind of that whole vibe. And then the other thing is like really kind of, it's kind of another cliche saying, but like selling the person rather than selling the product, right? So it's like you really actually learn about the person, what they need. And when you take the time to do that, they respect what you have to say so much more. And it's not even necessarily personally, like, yeah, great, talk to me about your kids, your dogs, where you live, all of that stuff, awesome. That's, I feel like, the route salespeople go to try and develop that, like, rapport. And, like, what I like to do is learn about the company. Like, basically, like, dude, like, you've been putting your blood, sweat, and tears, or individual, you've been putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this company, running it for the past 10 years. Like, tell me about what you've done. Like, let's hear about it. And from that point, you can really tailor the solutions to them. So, kind of multifaceted, but yeah, that's kind of what I feel like I've learned, and I didn't really have that perspective down pat initially, kind of when I started selling and reaching out to these people.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta love
I
it.
mean, you're great at it now, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think everybody starts somewhere. But no, that's great insight that you're sharing.
It's interesting stuff. I mean, it really is kind of always changing and evolving. But I would say those are kind of the two key things.
I think with our process of like educating and not selling, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it helps to set expectations with like these complex projects that they're coming to us. They want to raise millions of dollars most likely for a lot of our projects, and we're doing the digital marketing. So like when we're trying to set the expectations on like timeline or results, like is it easier for you because you're educating, not selling some like glass and mirrors?
Yes. It's a very matter of fact, so it's just like, look, like we can't guarantee anything. Like all of those things are set very clearly, right? I can tell you what we can project based on past experience, but I can't guarantee anything. And so it's just like, hey, Mac, like just kind of the education on the engine that you would potentially be investing into if you're a prospective client, obviously. Just letting you know how the engine runs, what goes into it, what functions, who's working on it, all of those things to where it seems like a no-brainer that you want to buy that engine and put it in your car, basically.
Yeah. No, Jagger is 100% right. We don't guarantee like the amount that we raise. I think for me, like when I used to have conversations, like I'm okay for us to say like, hey, we guarantee that we'll put you in front of investors, because I mean we do that on a daily basis. The only thing we can't guarantee, because we don't control it, is once the potential investor opts into the campaign, like because we don't have a hand in anything, we don't talk to the investors, we don't. We're not part of like the calling team, the investor relations team, or the brokerage team. So those things we can't control, so we don't guarantee the things that we do not control 100%. But what we do guarantee is that we will put your offering in front of investors and investment firms and family offices on a daily basis to give you the best opportunity to be able to raise this fund, the way we know how to do it.
So once the client's onboarded, how do you as a boss, as a leader, kind of manage or address whenever there's a discrepancy in the client's expectations and like the capabilities of the team or the service? Like how do you handle
I don't think there's any discrepancies in client expectations, just because Jagger does a great job of saying like, hey, this is what we're going to do for you, and that follows through with the onboard team, and then that follows through communication with the digital marketing managers. I think when there is a misunderstanding or communication is when a client sometimes brings in somebody else that wasn't part of the journey from the start, and maybe like at day 45 or day 60 they bring in maybe their executive and they're like, well, why isn't this working? Well, you weren't part of the process. We told you it takes 30, 60, 90, 120 days before you start closing deals. And I actually had a similar conversation like this just this past week. So I handle it the way I think anybody should, which is to be direct with them and say, hey, we told you this. What we said we were going to do, we've done. We've put your offering in front of investors. We're generating leads. We're even giving you lists of investors that your IR team can call. It is up to you guys to close the deal. So the ones that are not successful, I usually find that the IR team is not on point. They're not making the phone calls that they're supposed to be making, and they don't know their numbers. They don't know how many people they've talked to from the leads that we've generated, or they're calling once or twice and not 3, 4, or 5 times, So or they're not prepared. Like I had an IR person tell one of our team members, like, oh yeah, I lost an investment deal because I wasn't prepared. Like, well, that's on you. What? And you're telling our team member that you weren't prepared. So like there's some, where things like that happen in conversation, but we're just very direct and open, I think, with what we do.
Yeah.
So we haven't had any issues.
It's just a thought to add. It is so tough for me to wrap my mind around getting spoon-fed investor leads and not calling them. I mean, the equivalent to it is like a real estate agent selling a house, and you've got 100 people over the last month that have entered their contact info requesting to be contacted about buying that house, and the real estate agent is like, no, I'm not going to call them. Like, there's no point. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's tough. Not to harp on that too much, but it's like, it happens. Got to be there, and if it's not there, there's a clear, the inevitability of not succeeding is apparent.
That becomes a point of challenge for our raise when we don't have the clients, and it's far and a few when this happens, but when we don't have the clients calling the leads like they're supposed to, but you know, I thought we've solved all the problems for our clients. When we used to generate the leads, we're like, oh, they got this. We generate the investor leads, but then we put in email follow-ups. Then we put in text follow-ups. Then we're doing like AI-driven automation follow-ups. Now we're going to put in AI-driven phone calls to set you up with the phone call. So now if you don't show up to the Zoom, I can't help you.
This
You
ain't
know what I
gonna
mean?
work.
Like, this ain't gonna work. Like, we've literally at this point, we're spoon feeding them the investor. They just got to show up to the Zoom and close the deal.
I mean, we literally used to say like part of the criteria when we're looking for like the right client to work with us, because we want the team to be aligned with our team, right? We used to say that if they have a team that can call the leads, or they have the IR team, like check. But now it's like, okay, they have those things, but like, are they actually calling?
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
okay, you've got an investor relations team of 4. Like, so are y'all actually going to work, or
Yeah.
like
How do you even
Yeah.
how do you even double check that? Like you can't.
right.
I mean, we find out on the calls though.
yeah,
Because I've seen the, like I said, not to harp on this, but like I've seen like the IR teams that are on point, they know their numbers and they actually report back like the quality of the leads to our digital marketing and senior digital marketing managers. So like those clients are always raising money. Like it's the same scenario every time. When the IR team is not communicating well with our digital marketing manager team, that means they're not calling, because they're not providing our digital marketing manager team feedback. The IR teams that actually are calling, they're always calling our team and saying, hey, look, I saw this lead is good. Can we get more of this kind of lead? Like we get those kind of indicators from our clients. So I've been doing this long enough to see like, oh, this client's going to work out perfectly because they're actually just calling. The difference is that they just make the phone calls. That's it. There's no other difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from the clients that haven't been making calls,
Yeah.
do we have any other successes we can share, or any like good ad accounts right now that like you're really proud of, worth bringing up?
Yeah.
Or-
it's kind of a perfect segue from what we were just talking about. It's a funny story, but I mean, the oil and gas group just here in Dallas. I mean, they had an investor come in, committed, I think it was either 40 or 50 million over the time period of like 3 years, I think. So kind of some tranched funding.
Yep.
An initial immediate deposit of I think like 4 million or
Yeah, close to 4,
3.75
like 3.75, I think.
But yeah, that is exciting. That's exactly what we want. I think their campaign has been running for maybe 60 days.
Less than 60 days.
Yeah, exactly.
They're about to hit day 60 soon.
So I mean, if just from those numbers, I mean, their ROI with us is through the roof.
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know. What
it
is that
is like-
ROI? Let's do
like,
3.75. Yeah.
Through the roof, literally.
It's well over 100x.
Yeah.
But look, and we have other clients, you know, that's been with us like fairly new out in Arizona, that's been with us for like 7-8 months. And I've built a pretty good relationship with this CEO here. And I'm actually going to see him, you know, this weekend when I go to Los Angeles. So he was like, hey, let's meet up. So I'm going to meet up with him real quick. But I mean, he's raised a significant amount. For somebody to stay with us for that long, that means it's working for them, right?
Yeah.
Because we're charging them what we charge them, plus the advertising spend for the last 8 months. So he spent well over $100,000 with us, easily probably like 150.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm looking forward to like what you learned from those conversations with them, as like what was working whenever they were talking to the leads. Like, I mean, it's never going to be the same, you know, never copy and paste the same strategy, but like,
right.
how many times did they call? What did they see as successful? Because that's something that we can learn from too, you know?
I think you also got to be likable. And then there's a couple different variables, and you know, there's like the deal matters. The deal matters. For the investor.
Nobody ever wants to highlight that, but the deal matters.
Yeah,
Like-
the deal matters. Yeah, that's probably one of the most important things. Because if you have a shitty deal, no matter how good your IR team is, you're not going to be able to close the investments, you know? And unfortunately, like we've learned over the years, and I think we've taken on some of those things early on, very early on. I know we did, but now like as we get tenure, though, I feel like we get better deals.
We do.
Don't you think so? Like
For sure.
you get like legit conversations of companies that's raised like hundreds of millions already, and like we're like getting into them on their next project kind of thing. So we're moving on up in the world.
No more hour-long horse guy conversations.
Goodness gracious.
It
I
is.
bet between us three, we got a bunch of like crazy stories to talk
We do.
about.
Dan and I were talking about it. Like, we need to make a list of some of the like quirky things that like either marketing like jargon that we use or like funny things that the clients have said before. Like, because other marketers are definitely going to be able to relate to that, or people like, in the industry. So I think I might share something with the team and be like, hey, make a note. Like, anytime there's something like silly or funny or just like so random that people share, because we've got some crazy stories. Yeah. Well, I had a couple of other questions here, but they do kind of venture off into some other topics.
It's okay. Jagger can handle it.
Let's venture.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, see, since our team's been growing, there's definitely been a lot of intrapreneurs that have joined our team.
Yes.
And we've definitely had a big focus on like the company culture. It sounds so silly to say that, like company culture. It feels cheesy almost. But will you really quickly like define intrapreneur versus entrepreneur? And then I want you to talk about like how you're really like building and fostering this like culture within Valynt for those intrapreneurs.
Yeah. I mean, your definition of an entrepreneur. So like somebody that doesn't do one thing at an organization and that's responsible for, wears multiple hats. It's just an entrepreneur that doesn't actually own the business.
Right.
Like,
No,
I think that's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
Right? Like an entrepreneur that doesn't own the business and that's willing to do the things that are necessary that an entrepreneur does, but you just so happen to work underneath somebody else. But then also there's like people like Jagger that's an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. So like it's not like you're one or the other. You could be both at the same time. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think that's the simplest way I would define it. How would you define it?
As far as the definitions, it's kind of exactly what I would go along with. It's cool to point out that like I would say, you pointed out, Mac, like I think honestly everyone on the team is that. Yeah. Like the mentality, kind of the culture, touching on that, like it really is like we're a team of 15, 20 entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And we're just coming together, and that mentality, kind of the characteristics that normally come on with a person that takes on kind of an entrepreneurial mentality, typically they are the best type of team members to work with. Not always, but most of the time they're able to, they're not just showing up and getting their stuff done and clocking out at 5 and going along. They're really trying to like take initiative and better things and think outside the box. And when you get 15 and 20 of those people in a room like we have, you can get a lot of stuff done. You know?
Yeah.
It really makes some motion.
That's a great point, because like even like now, I don't know if you guys have seen this shift, but like I've really like tried to remove my hand from like all the things that are happening. Like today was like social media. A couple of days ago was like the Luna build. But yeah, like because like as a growing company, you know, like there's so many things we haven't figured out yet, and we kind of build this thing as we go. I think you're right. Like everybody is an entrepreneur in some capacity in their role right now, because there's so many little things that we haven't figured out. I mean, just like the Luna launch. I mean, look at the things that we figured out in terms of like the sales, the form that we had to create, what the pitch deck. Well, how do you position it? What does the communication look like once they fill out the form? What does the onboard look like? Okay, once the onboard's done, how do we build the campaign? Then we build the campaign and we're like, how's the kickoff call look? We're about to get to the kickoff call part of the software that we launched, but there's so many different steps that we have to figure out. Yeah. And then we're just adjusting as we go. That's the only way to do it. That's the only way I know how to do it.
Yeah, I think it was Tuesday whenever you shared with the team, like in person, that you wanted to remove yourself a little bit further and really like give people ownership of these projects that they were working on, and you really just like empower them to do it. And I swear I saw eyes light up of like, oh wait, I can have more authority over like not just my role, but like the projects that we're spearheading, you know? And so it was cool. True. And I think that came out even more today. Like, whenever we were talking about some of the social media pieces of it, like there were different people who's like shared thoughts that definitely showed that they'd been thinking about this project outside of just like this conversation. And you pointed that out to me. And I really feel like different people are liking that you've given them more authority and like more power to make it what it is, because you've definitely done that with the sales role, you know. So honestly,
I'm just tired.
He's
like right now in
ready
general,
to go drink a margarita on the beach. That's what he's ready to do.
Like it's just there's just like I realize like at this point where we are, there's just too many moving parts and pieces. It's moving so fast. It's like, hey, there's this book. There's this guy named Dan Martell. and I read this book this past, it was like 2 weekends ago. There's a 10-80-10 rule. So like 10% you start it, and then you set the expectations and the goal for this project. 10% of it is that. So I bring that to the table. So like if you saw the social media thing, I picked the platform, I connected everything. I said, hey, here's what we're going to do. I made a couple of different posts using that software, and that's the 10%. The 80% you give to your team, let them do the thing, and then I come back in and make sure like the 90% is good, and I add the last 10% if I need to.
Right.
And just add my little touch or say, hey, this is perfect.
Right.
And keep running.
Yep.
So 10-80-10 rule. That's what I'm following.
It's cool because, I mean, what we're talking about, like the whole dynamic and the culture, like that can't happen if the person that's leading the company doesn't invite it. And most CEOs, like that's not a thing. Like it is not, like you are treated as typically kind of like less than, like you are an employee, and like you don't treat us like that. Like we're your colleagues, we're your partners. Like you say that all the time.
For sure.
And that inhibits, it makes people want to go the extra mile. It makes them want to do that 80% to the best of their ability. Yeah. And then the other thought I had too, which is cool, is basically, I mean, the best CEOs in the world are the people that are able to have as much work fit into that 80%, basically. So like basically they're able to direct people and guide people, as many people as possible, and in the most efficient way possible to get this 80% done. Yeah. So like basically if more and more gets dumped into that, then your 10%, basically you can be doing other things. Yeah,
that's the goal.
Pushing the team forward. So
and I know you both see it. Yeah, you both see it. Like there's like different things growing within the agency, like in different directions, you know? So like that AI, you remember we were talking about like, oh, do you want to do something with AI? Now we have Dan, we're connected with the AI event that's happening. The shit is crazy because like it's happening. I think May 9th is like the new date now. I'm super excited for this thing, and now we just happen to have like AI software that we're offering. Then we have the conversational AI, and then we'll get to speak there, network with people that are forward thinking and are already using AI or want to learn how to integrate AI into their business. So Jagger, like I said, like this thing, I mean, it could take you in a lot of different directions. I wouldn't be surprised if we just have an AI dedicated person here in the next like couple of months, you know what I mean? Like within our agency or, however that works out. Whatever that looks like, I don't know. I'm just kind of, we always kind of play it by ear. You know? We fill in the needs that we need, that we have at the agency, and that's how we've grown.
We would be silly if we planned everything out and stuck to it and didn't adjust like as needed. So
yeah, that's true.
That's true.
All that being said, we're about up on time. So Jagger, how can people find you if they want to learn more about Luna or Valynt Digital's digital marketing service?
So you can reach us at our website at valyntdigital.com. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me on my email, jagger@valyntdigital.com.
And for those Valyntpreneurs who are interested and have some questions for the podcast, have some guests they want us to talk to, or some ideas of what we should talk about on the show, hello@Valynt Digital is the best way to find us. Or comment on the video.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
This went by really fast.
I know. I have so much more to talk about, but we are up.
I know. I thought you had like
I have
20
a lot more
questions listed, and we went through like 4.
Yeah, we got a lot.
I do want to leave the Valyntpreneurs with this though on this volume, like. I've said this before, but like, look, if you're not using AI or finding a way to integrate AI into your business, I don't care if you're a solopreneur. Like AI, like there's softwares out there for AI that does not cost money, or it costs $20 a month or like $10 a month. Find ways to integrate AI into your day-to-day, whether it's copywriting, whether it's outbound outreach, whether it's being an assistant to you. I promise you, like finding ways to integrate AI into your business, whether you're a 1-person show or 1,000-person, business running a huge organization, it is not cutting jobs. It is creating jobs. It is creating more efficiency, and it is making life better for a lot of people. So that's the side we're on. So until next time.
Exactly.
Peace.